What up, guys? Welcome to the first edition of the Shooting Range podcast, where I talk about things involving WWE, more specifically focusing on specific things at a time, specific wrestlers. So that's what makes this different from the Smack Talk podcast. While I'll sort of hone in on one specific area, I am the 90s kid. And the first thing I want to talk about has kind of been a hot button issue for a while, which is Roman Reigns. Just Roman Reigns, really. And so, I was on Bleacher Report today, as I often am. Not as much as I used to when I really first started. That first year or two, it was one of the main three sites that I visited. But I don't know. It's not that I stopped going to Bleacher Report, because I still, especially for the live updates of Raw that I often have to miss, unfortunately, I should be catching more of them, actually, whenever I finish school here pretty soon. But for a while, it just kind of, my use of Bleacher Report waned a little bit, just because I feel like the smart fans got smarter. And that's not entirely a compliment. I don't know. It's lately, this year in particular, 2015, from literally January up until the present, it feels like the IWC is just getting a little intolerable, even for me. And, technically I am a part of the IWC. I talk about wrestling on the internet. It's the internet wrestling community, so I am a part of it. But at the same time, when somebody says IWC, you know what they're talking about. You're talking about the marks, the smarks, the smart fans that have an opinion and do not hesitate to tell you. Whether it be, something that you agree with or something you don't agree with, or follows really a coherent strain of logic. But yeah, Roman Reigns. So everyone's talking about how Roman Reigns is being pushed to the moon. We all know he's going to win the title at WrestleMania. There's rumors that he won't. There's rumors that, WWE's thinking of keeping the title on Brock. I mean, really, now those rumors just happen to show up. It just reeks of a work. It reeks of a work. And I don't know, it could be true. It could be true. And, this is going to go up on YouTube. It's going to live past, the day I'm recording it, and WrestleMania is going to come and go, and whatever happens is going to happen. But at the time I'm recording this, WrestleMania is a week away. It just seems way too coincidental that they would... that those rumors would leak that WWE is thinking of keeping the title on Brock Lesnar. It just seems like they're throwing us a curveball. They're, trying to make us have doubt, because I think they learned from their mistake with the Royal Rumble, which is just that it was blatantly obvious that Roman Reigns was going to win the Royal Rumble, and nobody was happy about it, whether it be because of the fact that it was way too predictable. It was the fact that it was predictable. It was the fact that, maybe it wasn't the guy that they wanted. And, that whole Royal Rumble was handled questionably. It was just, but, I think a big part of why the Royal Rumble suffered so much was because of the predictability. And I think WWE is trying at least to learn from their mistakes and maybe throw us a curveball. Well, there may be a chance that Brock Lesnar keeps the title. No, Roman Reigns is going to win that title. I mean, really, I've been saying forever that this is 10 years ago. This is 10 years ago, all over again. WrestleMania 30 is just like WrestleMania 20, and how it was sort of the underdog coming up, the technical underdog that had to work his way into the main event, and it was a triple threat main event with two bona fide Hall of Famers, and nobody thought he was going to win, and it was a part of an already pre-existing storyline, and just Way, way, way similar. Let's just put it like, let's just leave it at that. And so this one, if you look 10 years ago, WrestleMania 21 was the changing of the guard completely. It was seen as the new champion. Batista's the new champion. All of a sudden, we're in this new era of like just new main event talent that are being cultivated to take over from Triple H, from Shawn Michaels, from Undertaker, and now it's 10 years later, and the same thing is happening. You know, you got John Cena going up against Rusev. You got Orton against Rollins. You got Reigns against Lesnar. You got Bray Wyatt versus Undertaker. This whole WrestleMania is about the new crop of people. Why wouldn't Roman Reigns walk out as champion? And just even forget about all that. Forget about that crazy theory, because it is a crazy theory on my part. It's just a theory. It's just a little bit of, speculation on my part that history is repeating itself. If you even forget about all that, story-wise, Roman Reigns is walking out of WrestleMania the champion. I don't know how you can end this particular storyline with Reigns losing. We're getting battered over the head time and time again of how unstoppable Brock Lesnar is, of how, how ill-prepared Roman Reigns is for the looming threat of Brock Lesnar, how high this mountain is for him to climb. And then what? He's just going to lose? No. And if he does lose, it's not going to be clean. I know. That's not how storytelling works. That's not how WWE storytelling works. Roman Reigns is going to win. The reason that they've been building Brock up this way, let's just take the streak out of it. Let's take after last WrestleMania up until this WrestleMania. The reason they've been building him up this way is so when whoever brings him down finally and takes that title, they will be made. Of course it's going to be a new superstar. It was just a question of whether it was going to be Rollins or Reigns, because Rollins had the briefcase and Rollins was going to feud with Brock Lesnar, but he's a heel. I mean, heel versus heel. I mean, face versus face is one thing, but heel versus heel is ugh. So really wasn't going to be Rollins. Of course it was going to be Reigns. Reigns is the next poster boy. And everyone's going like, well, he's not ready. Why not do it next year? He's not ready. If it wasn't going to be this year, I don't see how you can just keep pushing him and keep his momentum going a whole nother year. People forget Roman Reigns had some momentum. Roman Reigns looked like he was the next one up, he was the last Shield member to really kind of get that nod of like, okay, we're gonna work with you, because first thing right after the Shield disbanded was Rollins and Ambrose. Rollins and Ambrose really got the most. They got the best departure from the Shield, because you knew Ambrose's character, you knew Rollins' character, they feuded with each other, we were into that storyline. Reigns was more so kind of floating. I mean, he had a feud with Orton, and he kind of chased the title in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but I mean, really, it was more so like kind of placating him until they were gonna go full into him and to his push. Really, right after the Shield split up, they were focusing on Rollins, and then they were focusing on Ambrose, and then Ambrose's thing kind of went to hell a little bit. But if Roman Reigns hadn't got injured, he was going to be the next one that they were really going to focus on. They were setting him up for a feud with Rollins, and they were going to, Rollins has been the constant one receiving the kind of push. He's been receiving the constant push. Ambrose got a huge push like right afterwards, and Reigns did as well, but you could tell they were kind of saving the big stuff for the push to WrestleMania. And this is why. They were saving the push to WrestleMania, because Roman Reigns is going to be the one that dethrones Brock Lesnar. He's going to be the one to topple the giant. Just like John Cena back in WrestleMania 21, They positioned JBL as like not so much that he was dominant, but that he always found a way. He always found a way to win. He was like the wrestling god and like had, I think it was like some kind of record breaking title reign on SmackDown, like the longest in SmackDown history or whatever, something like that. They made it seem really big and epic, and then John Cena had to conquer that. Similarly, or maybe not similarly, Dave Batista had to overcome his mentor. Both Cena and Batista had to overcome something, and then they would get the title, and now they were the guy. They were the poster boys of WWE 10 years ago, and that's how it happened. It's the same thing here. But people are saying, oh, it should be Rollins or Ambrose or, this guy or that guy, this guy, that guy, and Roman Reigns isn't ready. Well, first off, let me just address that. How are you supposed to know if he's ready or not? I mean, really. Rollins is kind of the most developed out of all of them, but he's got the briefcase. I mean, and he's the most developed out of all of them. He doesn't need a push. He's just gonna get over basically by being Seth Rollins. Basically by being this great heel, just this great personality, this great worker, great wrestler, great, look, presence. He's got all that. He doesn't need any more work. Ambrose is similar in that there's very few things that Ambrose needs to be worked on, and so he could just go and be him. Reigns is somebody that, he needs this. He needs the push into the main event. He needs to be bought as a guy who can get the job done, who can do stuff like defeat Brock Lesnar when Ambrose most likely can't. When Seth Rollins, maybe on a good day and maybe with his scheming can, but Roman Reigns needs that push as the guy who can topple the big giant. He kind of more so needs that push. And people are all up in arms about he's not ready to carry the championship to be the face of the company. Who said he was going to be the face of the company? Who said that all of a sudden they're going to take the world off of John Cena's shoulders and just put them on Reigns the minute they hand him that championship? No one is saying that. I mean, there have been people that... Did people say that when The Miz won the championship? I mean, I don't really remember. I wasn't really on the forums and really that much of a smart fan when The Miz won. But I mean, I think it was just a deep gut feeling in everyone's mind when Miz won the championship that it was just like, well, yeah, okay, Miz has the championship now, but he's not the guy. I mean, I don't see why people are so up in arms. They're like, Roman Reigns cannot be the guy. He's not ready. He's not ready. Who said he was walking out of WrestleMania with the championship anyway? Because, I mean, I thought it was blatantly obvious. Maybe it's not to everyone else. I think it's blatantly obvious that he is going to win by hook or by crook against Brock Lesnar, whether he turns heel and joins with Heyman, which I guess is okay, but at the same time, it's a weird story turn for him all of a sudden now to be a heel after you build the guy up so much. I feel like, if anything, Heyman would turn face and join Roman, but even if, the crowd doesn't really see it that way, they'll see him as a heel. I mean, by hook or by crook, Roman Reigns is going to beat Brock Lesnar. I thought it was blatantly obvious that, yeah, he's going to win, but Seth Rollins has the briefcase. I mean, the second that his hand gets raised and he's in a, just struggling to stay on his own stay under his own 2 feet, under his own weight, he's just all over himself because he just went to war with Brock Lesnar. Of course Seth Rollins is going to come gallivanting to the ring and cash in on him and give him a curb stomp, 2 curb stomps, 3 curb stomps. hit him with a chair beforehand and then cash it. I don't know. I don't really care. But Seth Rollins is going to cash in at WrestleMania. What? Of course he is. I feel like this is so obvious. And again, WrestleMania is going to come and gone, and this podcast is going to either be really great or really irrelevant. But just from the way that it's being set up, with the way that, Roman is constantly running into Rollins. Brock Lesnar constantly running into Rollins, having these stare downs with Rollins, having these matches with Rollins. Roman is, of course, not Brock. But I feel like, of course, it has to come to a head at WrestleMania. Like, why else would they do that? And I mean, of course, it's the perfect opportunity. We still have not had a cash-in at WrestleMania. Everyone thought it was going to happen with Dolph Ziggler, and it didn't. But, I mean, at WrestleMania 29. But, I mean, we still do not have a cash-in at WrestleMania. You mean to tell me that wouldn't be an excellent WrestleMania moment for both Reigns and Rollins? Really? Of course they're going to do that. I don't know. It feels really obvious. And maybe that's the thing. Is that it is too obvious and that they're going to do a swerve. They're going to do a huge swerve at WrestleMania. Maybe I would have believed that 10 years ago. Maybe. 10, even 5 years ago. Maybe I could have believed that the writers were capable of a swerve that huge, that massive, that it would fool everyone. But it's WWE. It's PG WWE. It's these writers that have gotten so much flack, and well-deservedly so. I don't know. It feels like we're just headed on a path with a foregone conclusion. This is gonna happen. I feel it in the pit of my soul that Reigns is gonna win and he's gonna get cashed in on by Seth Rollins. It's just, I feel it. I feel it in my toes. I feel it. But, okay, I've talked about all this stuff about the situation and everything. I've been dancing around how I feel about Roman Reigns. I'm fine with Roman Reigns. Do I feel like he's still a little green? Yeah. But, I mean, people learn. It's like, I hear these people talk about, he's not ready. I'm like, okay, do you expect him not to eventually become ready? I mean, it's like, they talk about it like he's just never going to change. Like, he's not... Like, if you would have seen John Cena and Randy Orton in their, first day, in their first year, I mean, of course they weren't ready. Nobody's ready like this soon, but, I mean, sometimes we can't really wait. The timing of it all, the storyline, it just worked out. Roman Reigns had to win the Rumble this year. He had to be the one to beat Brock Lesnar. Daniel Bryan, he had 2 years. He had last year, he had the year before leading up to WrestleMania. Like, this is not Daniel Bryan's year. And everyone got so bent out of shape when he got eliminated early in the Rumble. And yes, could that have been done better? Of course it could have been done better. I don't know who made the decision. I don't know what they were thinking when they made the decision, but they made the decision, now they gotta live with it. But even if Bryan was the last one eliminated, even if Bryan entered at 1 and was the 29th man eliminated from the Rumble, he shouldn't have won. He shouldn't have won. Let's just leave that, okay? He has next year. He even probably has the year after that. But this year was Roman Reigns' year. After last year's performance, record-breaking performance, after how great the crowd got behind Roman at last year's Rumble, after the momentum that he had going into his injury, and then, he could have been handled better when he came back from injury, that's all, hindsight's 2020. But just from a story perspective, of course Roman Reigns was going to win the Royal Rumble this year. It was his year to win it. Now, whether or not it's going to appeal to a lot of fans is a whole different thing. But, wrestling fans are fickle. And of course, wrestling fans are going to react different in this city, in that city, in this city, in that city. WWE made the conscientious choice. They made the decision, clearly made the decision to have Royal Rumble in the same city as last year. And of course, they get the same response as last year. I mean, the city proved it. They proved what kind of town they are. They are a smart town. Philadelphia is an ECW smart town. Like, that's like screwing over CM Punk in Chicago. You don't do it. It's like screwing over Bret Hart in Canada. The whole country of Canada. You don't do it. And you know what? One of those they did. We see how that played out. It's one of the biggest controversies in WWE history. But WWE made that choice. They made their bed. They have to lie in it. Whatever. How do I feel about Roman Reigns? Again, I feel like, is Roman Reigns ready? No. But I feel like he's 75% of the way ready. Or like 80% of the way ready. I mean, he's getting better. And it's not like, it takes him months to learn. It takes him like a week or like 2 weeks or a few weeks to get better in his promos, to get more comfortable in his own skin. And a lot of that is because he's being told what to say. Anyone who's being told what to say and how to be is not going to be 100% believable or authentic. I mean, we see what happened to The Rock. The Rock nowadays is the king of promos. He's the king of confidence. The ultimate, he's just got the swagger. He is electrifying. But when he was Rocky Maivia, he was crap. I mean, this is just common sense. I mean, when you put people in a box and you say, do this, not a lot, like maybe 1 out of 10, but the other 9 out of 10 are they're gonna be a little weird. Steve Austin, when he was the ringmaster, it's not like the way he was when he was Stone Cold Steve Austin, kick ass and drink beer. I mean, you need to find your comfort zone. Now, some people like Seth Rollins and Randy Orton, or, some people like that, they can kind of do different shades and they can do different things. And Seth Rollins is a great face and a great heel. CM Punk was a great face and a great heel. There are a bunch of different ways he can do that and still be entertaining, still be just as great as a performer as he is, whether he's this way or that way or this way or that way. Roman Reigns is one of those people, though, that he has to find his groove. And once he finds his groove, he's going to be fine. But I mean, you can't figure out and tally out and predict how long that's going to take. So what, are they just going to wait until he's ready to put the title on him? Sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes you got to strike while the iron's hot. The groundwork was made for Roman to win the Rumble and go to WrestleMania, and nobody else on the roster can beat Brock Lesnar. I mean, from a story perspective, from a character perspective, nobody else is beating Brock Lesnar. Your precious Daniel Bryan is not beating Brock Lesnar, okay? CM Punk didn't beat Brock Lesnar. Triple H couldn't beat Brock Lesnar. John Cena had a fluke victory over Brock Lesnar and then got his ass handed to him. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I mean, like, nobody else is beating Brock Lesnar on this current roster. Brock Lesnar broke the Undertaker's undefeated streak. Nobody on this roster right now is beating Brock Lesnar. So WWE has painted themselves into a corner. You either let Reigns win the Rumble this year when he's still admittedly not ready and just learn on the job and learn by doing the few months until WrestleMania, which is what they had to end up doing, or you keep Brock Lesnar as champion for a whole other year, because there's no way anyone else is beating him for the title. Or you have Brock Lesnar quit or just stop showing up because you can't afford him anymore and go to UFC, and now he has the WWE and UFC title around his waist and nobody can even have a match for him to lose it. Or you strip Brock Lesnar, or, there are a bunch of ways that this can go. The best way is just to go with Roman Reigns. Just go with Roman Reigns. He will be fine. He will learn by doing. That's the best way for wrestlers to learn, is to learn by doing. You can't teach certain things. You have to just... Roman Reigns said it best, actually. He said it himself, that the way he learned to swim is by someone throwing him in the deep end. And he had to just learn. Sometimes you just don't have the option of getting swimming lessons and having 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks to learn and the right stroke and, just how exactly what to do. You don't get the chance to tread water for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever. Sometimes you just have to get thrown in to the deep end. And that's what they're doing with Roman Reigns. And I don't have a problem with it. And honestly, I don't see why other people have such a huge problem with it. And another thing I hear about Roman Reigns is that, people say, I think one of three things, this is just off the top of my head, one of three things they say about Roman Reigns. They say he's not ready, which I've already talked a bunch about. They say that he's not a good wrestler, which, give me a break. They say that he has 3 or 4 or 5 moves. And that's just the most infuriating thing, because he's told to do those 3 or 4 or 5 moves. And Roman Reigns has shown he's added moves to his repertoire. He's changed it up. They used to say the same thing about John Cena. John Cena threw in curves every now and again. But you have to realize this is wrestling. This is pro wrestling. They have a rhythm. They have a pattern. Undertaker has a rhythm and a pattern. He hits old school. Snake eyes. Boot to the face. Leg drop. Choke slam, last ride, tombstone. He's done that for the past 5 WrestleManias. He does that pretty much every match he's in. Everyone has a pattern. Everyone has a color by dot, connect the dots, and then you pin him and win the match. Everyone has that, basically. I mean, whether or not they always get to do it is different, but that's just the weakest thing you could get on Roman Reigns about, because it's not even his decision. I mean, sometimes you just can't do the world in your match. It's just weird. It's a weird critique. And then the third thing they say about Roman Reigns is that, and this is the really funny thing about fans and about the IWC really in general, is because they go, well, oh no, I wouldn't have a problem with Roman Reigns if he wasn't shoved down our throats. Interesting. But no, really, really, really interesting that the IWC chooses to say this, because for the longest time, they wanted to see Daniel Bryan as the guy. The WWE heard this. There were some things that happened, CM Punk quitting, that forced them to maybe think on the fly and put Daniel Bryan as the guy. But we all knew that eventually he was going to be the guy anyway. And he was the main guy. He was in the spotlight. He was all over the place. They were treating him as a legitimate main eventer. For 2 years. 2 years. Now, if you aren't a Daniel Bryan fan, or if you are a Daniel Bryan fan, but you're just not a super Daniel Bryan fan, you could argue that WWE shoved Daniel Bryan down our throats after we begged and pleaded for them to put him in the main event spot. They were like, all right, you want Daniel Bryan? Here, you take Take Daniel Bryan. You here have the law to then have. It's like the equivalent of getting caught smoking and then having to smoke the whole pack. It was just like there was Daniel Bryan everywhere, and all of a sudden there was all this drama when he got injured, and just Daniel Bryan is making an appearance on Raw. And oh my God, Daniel Bryan is here! Oh my God! And again, if you're not super into Daniel Bryan, you're like, ugh, Daniel Bryan again? More Daniel Bryan? Like, okay, fine. He had 2 years. He had 2 brilliant WrestleMania matches. He had his moment. He had his time in the sun. Now, can we talk about somebody else? Oh, no, Daniel Bryan. Oh my God, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan should win the Royal Rumble. Oh my God. Why does Daniel Bryan need to win the Royal Rumble? He has no reason to win the Royal Rumble. What, the main event WrestleMania again? To have another WrestleMania moment back to back? That sounds familiar. That sounds like John Felix Anthony Cena. A person that the IWC has railed against for years. And now, their indie guy, their little underdog Daniel Bryan is becoming the exact same thing. He's all over the place. He's crammed down our throats. But because it's Daniel Bryan, it's different. Why is it different? And now Roman Reigns has been getting a push, but again, it's not like he's all over the place like Daniel Bryan was the last 2 years. Like, I mean, yeah, they're really trying. They're really trying to make you like Roman Reigns. But it's a lot more psychological. It's a lot more manipulative. It's a little bit more not subtle. Subtle is not the right word. But it's not as in your face, oh my God, here is Daniel Bryan for all of you because you've earned it. You've been so good. Like it was for... It's just... I can't even say it infuriates me. It amuses me. The way that IWC people are just like, we want Daniel Bryan. We want Daniel Bryan or we will riot in the streets. And then they give you Daniel Bryan, and then it's like, man, all Daniel Bryan does is kick. Daniel Bryan kicked before he got a push. He's doing nothing different. And then they turn like a dime. Not like a dime, on a dime. They turn on a dime. And it's just... you cannot make the IWC happy at all. At all. I'm trying to think of... There was somebody for the longest time. They were like, oh my gosh, this guy needs a push. Oh my God, this guy. Why are they not doing anything with this guy? Oh my God. And then they gave him a push. And then people were like, oh my God, I'm so sick of this guy. I can't remember who. I keep wanting to think it's Ziggler, but it's not. It's really not. And I keep wanting to think it's Ambrose, but it's not. And Barrett, don't even get me started on Barrett, because they have no idea what they're doing with Barrett, and it sickens me. And Cesaro. And Luke Harper. I think it might have been Bray Wyatt. I think it might have been Bray. Everyone was like, oh my God, Bray Wyatt. And then eventually it was like, oh my God, Bray Wyatt. It was just the weirdest thing. But to say that Roman Reigns is being pushed down our throats, okay. Every now and again, a superstar gets pushed down your throat. You know why? Because they're hot. Because they're in the main event. That's what the main event is for. You focus on the main event. It's not like you focus on the undercard. No. You focus on the main event because that's common sense. I mean, if John Cena makes you millions and millions of dollars being John Cena, what are you gonna not promote him? What are you gonna not trot him out anytime you get? Are you not gonna focus the entire broadcast around him? Of course not. Just like the same thing with Roman Reigns. Just like the same thing with Daniel Bryan. They focus on whoever the audience wants, whoever the top people in the company want, and whoever simply has the momentum and maybe the talent. But the talent is like so far gone. It's like the fourth thing. But it's so funny. It's so funny. I would like Reigns if he wasn't shoved down our throats. In what way is he shoved down your throats? Is he making you sit down and watch him wrestle? No. I mean, if you don't like Roman Reigns, don't watch Raw. But don't expect them to not focus Raw around Roman Reigns. He's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania. Just like last year. Everything about Raw was focused around Daniel Bryan and Triple H. But he was in the main event of WrestleMania. Or he was going to wrestle a match to see if he would wrestle in the main event of WrestleMania. And that was another foregone conclusion that we all knew what was going to happen. I don't think I remember anybody complaining about the Shield being shoved down our throats because the Shield was cool and the Shield was badass. I mean, I don't know. And Roman Reigns was a part of the Shield. So my final thoughts on Roman Reigns, I have no problem with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is a good wrestler. Is he great? No, but I feel like he could be great if people would give him a chance and stop jumping down his throat because his name isn't Bryan Danielson. And I feel like given a little bit more time, given just a bit more confidence and a bit more support, he could be big. He could be huge, but he's not going to be huge right now. He's not going to be the champion right now. Seth Rollins is going to be the champion right now. And I feel that in the bottom of my heart. I feel that in the pit of my stomach that that's going to happen. And I feel like that's good that will happen. I feel like that's a very good decision. And I feel like that's a great way to go for WrestleMania, especially if you don't have Brock after WrestleMania. You got a storyline coming right out of it. Brock or no Brock. You got Reigns versus Rollins. And if you could find a way to shoehorn Ambrose in, you got a Shield triple threat, which is what everyone and their mother wants since they split up. But Roman Reigns is a good wrestler. He's not great. He's getting better at talking. He has the look. And he has this aura, which WWE has almost effed up on many occasions, what with the stupid promos about fairy tales. But when I remember when the Shield were freshly broken up, like last summer, and I was watching Raw in like a cafeteria and at my college, and I just tuned the TV to Raw. And I was just watching, and he has this presence. He does have a presence. He has a really cool, badass aura around him. And I think that's just him. I don't think you can teach that. He has things that you can't teach. Just like Rollins does, just like Ambrose does, just like a bunch of people have. He just has something about him. And that's why they're going with him. Now, do I hate Roman Reigns? No. Do I love Roman Reigns? Not really either. I mean, I'm just being honest here. I don't have a problem with Roman Reigns. He's far from my favorite, like, of all time or on this current roster or at this particular moment, whatever. He's far from my favorite. But just seeing it how it is and being unbiased and just looking at everything, give the guy a break. That's all I have to say about Roman Reigns. It's just, please give him a break. He hasn't done anything but work his butt off to earn the spot that he has. Okay? Just like everyone else on the roster. He may not have been wrestling as long as some other guys, but I think that even makes it more impressive that he hasn't been wrestling for much longer than them and is just picking this stuff up as he goes. That should give you more of an incentive to get behind the guy. Support the guy, please. I'm the 90s kid, and this has been my shooting range on the ever controversial, especially right now, Roman Reigns. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know when I'll be making another one, but until next time, guys, take care.